everyone, Morgan and family here. So there have been a lot of people that have contacted me or commented or something that has to do with them being concerned about us being in the RV. And I understand the concern. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for your concern. I really appreciate it, especially in this really hectic time, thinking of others. I mean, thinking of me, being concerned about me, like, little old me, it's crazy. But I do first want to say I appreciate that. Second, we're kind of in the prime spots right now in the sense of we're boondocking, and that's all that we do. So we're pretty much always away from people. The great outdoors, when it comes to social distancing and staying away from public places, we're pretty far away from people. We do see people, but we're not like, within 6 feet of them, which is what the required, minimum that you have to be from people, right? We're most definitely always 6 feet from people at least, right? So I think the biggest concern and something that we always, it was really hard to downsize into an RV to begin with, being a prepper, and especially like an over prepper, somebody who just wants to be prepared for everything always. And I had a huge stockpile of stuff, and it was really, really hard to donate that stuff and to get rid of it. It was really, really, really difficult, especially, because I spent so much time and money and effort, building up all that supply. And then all of a sudden, we moved into an RV, a much smaller space, and the supplies are just drastically reduced. Now, in saying this, a lot of national parks and state parks are closing. But again, we boondock on BLM lands and national parks. So unless the national parks and BLM lands suddenly start closing, we'll be okay. But we do actually have a couple other alternatives that we could drive to a couple relatives' homes and stay with them. So we're not totally out and about. We have at least 3 or 4 other options that we can use outside of the national parks and BLM and all that. So we're not totally out, if these public places were to suddenly close on us. We have lots of backup options. Look at this girl. And look at this little walking girl. Learning to walk in the great outdoors. I'll tell you, spending most of our time, all of our time really, here on national parks and BLM lands and stuff, we're always outside, and we're always off-roading and hiking and just getting outside and enjoying everything this location has to offer. And the really nice thing is we're able to really explore. We're usually at places about a couple weeks or so. We've been at a few places a couple nights or so, but we're at these places for a couple weeks, so we just drive around, look around, and it's a great time to just explore everything that's around us. And we found some really cool stuff, old mining stuff. Just really neat stuff. If she can walk on this uneven surface, she can walk anywhere. Trying to come to me?
Here we go. Ready? Yep.
So one thing that downsizing and becoming kind of a minimalist prepper really forced me, all of us, to focus more on skills. So we really have to focus more on self-sustainability, self-sustaining methods, rather than just relying on a stockpile of food and water. But I think that every prepper should be like that. I think there are a lot of survival skills, bushcraft skills that preppers should know, for what happens when your food storage does run out. Experts are saying that normalcy will probably, everything will probably get back to normal around May or June. That's what experts are saying. Who knows? We don't know how this illness is going to continue to spread. But regardless, whatever is happening, we are prepared the very best that we can be. It is true that when it comes to storage space, you know, we don't have a ton of space, but it's not just storage space that we have to be concerned about, it's weight. The RV can only stand so much weight, right? It can only support so much. So we have to be really strategic about what exactly we have on board. You know, it's not just the food and water. You know, we can't store a whole bunch of water, but water hasn't been actually... Water's been the least of our worries. We have a bladder, as you can see here, that we actually can go into town, fill up. We also have lots of purification systems set up, and we're right near a stream and a couple rivers. We can always take the Jeep and go collect water, bring it back, and pump it into the RV. So water's actually been the least of our concerns. As far as food goes, you know, there's lots of wild edibles around here. There are lots of small game, you know, so if we do need to supplement our food, we're definitely going to be doing that. But we do have a good supply of some foods, some canned foods, some boxed stuff, you know, not lots of non-perishable foods. And we also have propane. I think that's my biggest concern is the propane. If propane places close, that cuts off our refrigeration, and it cuts off our heating source. So we could do without the refrigeration, but it's really nice to have, because right now, like, we're freezing a lot of stuff, and well, not a lot of stuff, our freezer is very small. That's also a big frustration for me. We had a huge freezer out in our garage at our house, and we had it filled with meat and water and a whole bunch of other stuff. And it was frustrating to get rid of that. And it's really frustrating not to have, you know, a big freezer. I mean, our freezer is like, you know, itty bitty tiny. Okay. So we can't freeze a lot. And so that's a little frustrating. I think that's the most frustrating part. But if we don't have propane, then our freezer issue is moot, right? We're always prepared to stay in one place for an extended period of time. You know, we only move when we absolutely need to or want to, you know. And, you know, we have the Jeep to run around and do other things, and, you know, do errands and collect that water, like I was saying, get groceries, whatever. You know, when it comes to lockdowns and things like that, grocery stores, the supply chain should technically still be available, but that doesn't mean that we should rely on it, and we are not. You know, we definitely stocked up a little bit. We stocked up on some extra food. You know, we didn't do any panic buying or anything. You know, we definitely just stocked up some extra food. We have lots of freeze-dried food, and you know, there's lots of vegetables and produce and stuff that we can preserve through the sun, or you know, maybe we can smoke some meat, although there's been a lack of meat in the stores. So, you know, maybe get some frozen meat and try to preserve that a different way. There's just a whole bunch of different methods that we could implement. And of course, it'd be a lot more work. Of course, it'd be a lot more time, obviously, you know. Being a self-sufficient life is a lot more time consuming. But we rely on solar for our electricity, but we do rely on propane pretty heavily, like for our heating and refrigeration needs. So that's my biggest concern, is propane. So we have our onboard propane, and then we have our external propane. You know, we can always take this in the Jeep and go get it filled, and then
we typically use just our onboard propane, and whenever we move, we'll get the onboard propane filled up, and then it's our spare propane that we can go get filled if we need to. If the filling places are closed, there's still various other places like Home Depots and Walmarts and Tractor Supplies, things like that, that actually sell propane. If they can't fill it, we might end up having to buy another bottle, you know, one of the smaller bottles, something like that. But there are ways of getting it, as long as we can find a supplier somewhere.
Yeah, as long as, you know, as long as the places are still open to get propane. I guess that's just my biggest concern.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have to take the RV to go fill up the onboard tank, because we have the ability to run off of little bottles.
Yeah, but it's just my biggest concern is, you know, if those places are closed, you know, we just have to figure something out, or just go without refrigeration, eat everything out of the freezer and fridge, and just bundle up at night, because it's still getting cold. But it is getting towards summer, and we're still we're doing fine. To
put that in a little bit into perspective, we spent about 3 months of warmer weather in the RV without using the heater as much, and we filled the onboard tank one time in those 3 months.
Yeah, and it was warm.
In the last 3 months, January, February, March, we've had to fill up the onboard tank about every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Just because it's getting cold at night and the furnace draws a lot of propane.
Yeah, the furnace draws a lot of propane. The refrigeration and then our cooking, of course, doesn't draw a lot of propane.
So we can go months. We can go months on what we have if we're not running the furnace.
Yeah, just that furnace just takes so much. You know, we can always make a fire to cook. You know, I'm not really concerned about that. We have extra little bottles of propane. You know, I'm not too concerned about cooking. That's not too bad. So, you know, we're just doing the best we can. The biggest concern in RV is that we just don't have enough storage, nor do we have the ability to store that much weight, just because there's only so much weight that the RV can store. There's only so much weight that the Jeep can store. We do store a lot of stuff in the Jeep, and we do store a lot of stuff in the RV, but it's weight, storage capacity, all that. But we're just doing the best we can, you know. While supply chains are still going, we're getting just a couple little bit, you know, couple little extra things every time we go, you know, once a week. But other than that, we're just enjoying family time and exploring the area and the outdoors, and dogs are having a blast. And we got the walker.
See, she'll walk. Ready?
Of course, no matter what, whether we were in a house, RV, camp, tent, whatever, we're practicing social distancing. So, you know, we're not doing the touristy stuff that maybe we want to do. Like, there's a whole bunch of places we want to go see and do, but we can't. And that's okay. You know, you just have to adjust and just make the best of it. So that's what we're doing. And I hope that you guys are doing the same, adjusting your mindset, adjusting expectations, and just making the best of a weird and scary and crazy situation. So stay well, stay away from people, and just do the best you can. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Really appreciate your concern. I would really love to hear from you and how you're doing with social distancing and staying prepared. And there's a lot more to come. Thank y'all so much for watching Conquer Tomorrow by Preparing Today. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye. Say bye, Dad.
Bye.